Stratford School, Mrs. Caravan here. So now that we've had our seeds germinate and start to grow, we have these little seedlings now. We're going to do another experiment with them. We're going to see what we need to keep them growing. So to germinate the seed, all we needed to do was add a little bit of water and keep the seed a little bit warmer. And that made it sprout and start to grow. So what do we need to do to keep this seed to keep growing? What does this plant need? That's the question we're asking today. What does a plant need? So plants have a process called photosynthesis. So they actually make their own food from sunlight. They use the sun rays, and the green in their leaves actually makes food for them. So what does a plant need? If we think about it, plants are outside usually, and they're getting rained on, so I think they need some water. And the sun shines on them, so they probably need some sunlight too. So we're going to do an experiment to see if plants need both of these things. So what you're going to need to do is take some of your seeds that you started to grow, your little seedlings now, and you're going to plant them all into their own little cups. So you need at least 2 plants, up to 4. I'm doing 4 because I'm going to change if they're getting water and if they're going to be getting sun. So depending on what you want to change, depends on how many you need or how many you have too. So I had enough plants that I've got 4 plants here. So the first plant, I'm going to put a label on that says control. So this is the plant that's going to get sun and it's going to get some water. My next plant, it's not going to get any sun. It says no sun, but it's going to get water. So no sun. So the plant that's going to get no sun, I'm going to put under a box. I'm going to find a box to put over it. And I'm going to stick it in my window so it doesn't get any sun. And then my next plant, it's going to get no sun and no water. So here's my label. No sun and no water. So I'm going to stick it in the box like I did that other one. And I'm not going to water this one at all. It's got a little bit of water in it now because I didn't want it to die right away. So it's got a little bit of water now, but I'm not going to give it any more water for the next few weeks. And then my last plant, I'm going to label sun and no water. So this one's going to go in the window. It's going to get sunlight, but I'm not going to water this one at all. We're going to see what happens. Okay, so I want you to take all your plants, label them. If you don't have enough plants to do all of these, it's okay. Make sure you have the control, which you're going to give water and sun. So make sure you have a control. And then you can pick what you want to do for your other ones. Okay, so once you get them labeled, you're going to go ahead and get a ruler. I got my blue ruler here. And you're going to measure your plant. See how tall it is to start with so we can know if it's going to grow or not. So next week when we go to measure it, we'll know. So we're going to write down how tall they are. So this one I'm measuring is 9 centimeters tall. So I'm going to write that down on my chart. I made myself a little chart. And you can find this on Seesaw. So I wrote it down how tall it is. And I'm going to measure all my plants and write them down. And then I'm going to guess. I'm going to make a hypothesis. Which plant do I think is going to grow the most? And I want you to do the same thing. Which plant do you think will grow the most? And then which plant do you think is going to grow the least or the smallest amount? So before we start this experiment, I want you to think about those and make a hypothesis. All right, so get your initial measurements and write them down on a chart somewhere. It doesn't have to be this chart. You can make your own chart. But write them down so that we'll know if they grew or not when we come back in a week to measure them. And make sure your plants that need water, the ones that are labeled to have water, make sure they stay a little bit moist over the week, okay? And next week, we're going to measure them and see which ones grew and which ones didn't. All right, so go ahead and make your hypothesis and your first measurements and put the box over the ones that do not get any sun. And we're going to see what happens. Have a good experiment. Let's see.